Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving straight into Chapter 6 of our source material. We are tackling what is, without a doubt, the single most crucial skill for any Windows system administrator: mastering Active Directory. Since it's used in over 90% of enterprise environments, getting this right is literally the difference between a rock-solid, secure network and, well, total operational chaos.
All right, let's look at the agenda. First, we'll cover the core AD architecture. Then, users, groups, and automation. Third, group policy and DNS. Fourth, securing the domain environment. And finally, troubleshooting and your first month plan. Before we start building anything, let's just lay down the foundation. Active Directory, or AD, is essentially your single pane of glass. It lets you manage thousands of users, computers, and policies without ever having to touch each device individually. It relies on LDAP for looking up directory queries and Kerberos, which is basically the secure ticketing system for all your authentication. Section 1, the core AD architecture. We'll be understanding forests, trees, domains, and OUs. Okay, so think of your network kind of like a giant physical building. Right at the very top, you've got the forest. That is your absolute outermost security boundary. Inside that forest, you have trees and domains, and these act as your core administrative units. And then finally, at the most granular level, you have organizational units, or OUs. This is where you actually group together your users and computers so you can apply specific policies to them. Now, to connect all these logical structures together, we use something called trusts. What's cool here is that intra-forest trusts are completely automatic. So if domain A trusts domain B and B trusts C, well, A automatically trusts C. It's a chain. But say you acquire a totally new company that has its own separate forest. In that case, you have to manually configure a forest trust to safely bridge those two totally distinct environments. So while AD is generally a multi-master environment, there are 5 specific domain controllers that hold unique single master operations. We call these FSMO roles, flexible single master operations. Basically, they dictate the really critical functions. For instance, the PDC emulator handles your time sync and password changes, while the schema master controls the absolute fundamental blueprint of your entire directory.
Moving on to Section 2, users, groups, and automation, populating your domain. When it comes to access control, Chapter 6 strongly highlights the Microsoft-recommended AGDLP nesting strategy. That stands for accounts, global groups, domain local groups, and permissions. The idea here is that by nesting your role-based global groups right into resource-based domain local groups, you ensure that you only ever have to change a user's group membership. You never have to hunt down and manually update dozens of individual file share access control lists. It's an absolute game changer for efficiency. But what happens when someone actually leaves the company? Following this exact 6-step offboarding process guarantees their access is securely terminated. And notice that step 1 is to disable the account, not delete it. We want to retain it for 90 days. This makes sure you don't prematurely destroy critical company data, but you're still immediately killing off their Kerberos access. To manage all of this at scale, you are going to rely heavily on PowerShell. Consider this your essential cheat sheet. Honestly, why click through a graphical interface 100 times when just one single line using new AD user can bulk provision an entire department's accounts in a matter of seconds? It just makes sense.
All right, Section 3, Group Policy and DNS, the rules and the nervous system.
The source text makes a really profound statement here that you need to remember. DNS is not optional. It is Active Directory's nervous system. Domain controllers actually register specific SRV or service records. If DNS breaks down, clients literally cannot locate a domain controller. That means user logins universally fail and directory replication just completely halts. It's that critical.
Now let's talk about the rules. Group Policy Objects, or GPOs. When you're enforcing rules, like setting wallpapers or deploying software, policies apply in what's called the LSDOU order: local, site, domain, and finally OU. The golden rule to remember here? Last applied wins. That means the most specific organizational unit setting is always going to override any of the broader domain-wide policies. Of course, when a group policy inevitably doesn't apply the way you want it to, these troubleshooting commands are going to be your best friend. Instead of just guessing what went wrong, you can run gpresult/h. That generates a full HTML report right there, showing you exactly which policies applied and, more importantly, which ones got blocked.
Section 4. Securing the domain environment. Let's start locking the doors.
So, modern AD security relies massively on protocol hygiene. Legacy NTLM uses this really vulnerable challenge response mechanism where the client can't even verify the server's identity. No way, right? What you need to do is identify and completely disable NTLM wherever possible and strictly enforce Kerberos. Kerberos uses ticket-granting tickets to provide highly secure, mutual authentication.
Next up, to prevent absolute catastrophic credential theft, you must implement the Microsoft's tier model. Think about it like this. Tier 0 is your domain controllers. Tier 2 is your end-user workstations. The absolute golden rule here is that a Tier 0 domain admin account must never, ever be typed into a basic Tier 2 workstation, because if that workstation is compromised, attackers can instantly harvest those credentials and take over your entire domain. Game over.
Let's see how we can build this into a really comprehensive defense. You want to combine that tiering strategy with dedicated, hardened, privileged access workstations. Then, drop all your admin accounts into the protected user's security group. Doing this automatically strips away their ability to use weak encryption or to cache credentials locally. Seriously, do this, and your administrative attack surface shrinks dramatically.
Finally, Section 5, Troubleshooting and your first month, Maintaining the property.
When issues inevitably pop up, advanced audit logging gives you exactly the visibility you need. Chapter 6 highlights some critical event IDs you really need to watch out for. For example, keep a close eye on repeated 4625s, which usually indicate brute force attacks. Also look out for 4740s. These pinpoint account lockouts. You can actually look at the caller computer name on that event to see exactly which device is repeatedly failing its authentication.
For keeping your infrastructure healthy, these command line tools are absolutely vital. By using things like repadmin and dcdiag, you can rapidly figure out if a network problem is just a DNS failure or if it's actually a replication delay. And definitely don't forget W32TM to check your time synchronization. Fun fact, if your clocks are skewed by more than 5 minutes, Kerberos authentication will just break entirely.
If you're just stepping into a new environment, here is your exact 30-day action plan. Week 1 should be pure discovery. Run your dcdiags and map out those OUs. By week 2, you should be kicking out any unnecessary domain admins. Week 3 is all about hardening, things like turning on the AD recycle bin. And then by week 4, you are building out automated PowerShell reporting so the environment is practically monitoring itself. I want to leave you with this final, critical question to help assess your own network's health right now. Are your most privileged credentials currently exposed in places where attackers could easily harvest them? Take a really hard look at your environment today and start locking those doors. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.